Hello and welcome to the SRO Esports GT Series, the new 2020 championship, and we've got the first round here today at Silverstone. My name is Jack Nichols. Thank you very much for joining us ahead of what is going to be a 5-week program of GT racing around the virtual world using the Assetto Corsa simulation. I will be here. We're presenting the coverage. Of course, we will have David Addison and John Watson in commentary. We'll be joined by Ben Constanduras as well. And the way that this is going to work is today you will see 2 one-hour races. The first is for the pro class. That is for the professional real-world racing drivers. They'll be going head-to-head on this Silverstone circuit for an hour in GT3 cars that you'll see in the GT World Challenge powered by AWS later this year. And then we've got the silver class, which is for invited sim racers. That's the second one-hour race that we'll be seeing a little bit later on today. A lot of those big names that you will have seen in the SRO charity event if you watched that a couple of weeks ago. And there is also the AM class. We won't be seeing them race today. They're racing on Saturdays, but those are for qualifiers who enter the game just from their home themselves, and you can enter the game if you want. Head along to the SRO Esports website if you want to get involved in that. The first race is going to be at Silverstone here today, and as I say, I'm going to be joined by David Addison, the voice of GT racing. David, thank you very much for joining us. You enjoyed your first time out in the charity challenge. You're looking forward now to, things mattering more.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Monza was a fantastic trio of races, and now we come to Silverstone, where I think people are going to take it more seriously because, as you say, it does matter. There is this championship. There are points at stake. There's going to be success ballast after today's races going into the next rounds of the championship. And you look at the entry list, and not only is it like a who's who of GT racing for the Pro Series and sim racing for the Silver Championship, but you look at the manufacturers that are getting involved now, Jack, and they're putting in proper esports teams, and the quality of driver is exceptional. We're in for, as you say, 1-hour sprint races, so no pit stops. It's just elbows out from the moment we get underway. And on the back of what we saw at Monza, now splitting it, so you've got one race for the real world drivers and one race for the sim stars. This is going to be awesome entertainment.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. A few big names entering today. We're going to have Jenson Button in the first race. We're going to have Charles Leclerc in the first race as an SRO wildcard entry. But before we get and look at the grid and how qualifying ended up, let's take you round the Silverstone lap. This is the Fanatec track guide, and we are with Seb Morris in the Bentley around Silverstone. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name's Seb Morris, Bentley Motorsport Works driver, and I'm going to take you for an onboard lap of my home circuit at Silverstone.
So this is a lap off Silverstone. We start the lap into Copse, turn 1, brake down to 4th and 50 metre board, rear goes light, over the curb, straight back on the power in 4th gear. Exit's really important there, but also is your entry. Down to Maggots Beckett's, over the curb on the left, 5th gear, 240 kph. Over the curb, down to 4th for the left, over that curb, down to 3rd for the right, over that curb, straight back on the power. Power is really important onto this back straight now. Onto the hanger straight. We always use this bridge as a reference to see what sort of time and speed we're doing. A little bit of time to relax. Look at the entry, which is the curb on the left, down to 3rd. We get up on this curb here, slightly off camber, difficult corner. All the way on the power, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Now we're looking at the curb for reference braking here, down to 2nd. Over the curb on the left-hand side, through club. Throttle's difficult there, up through 3rd and 4th, flat round this right-hander here. Now we're looking into Abbey, the new turn 1. Over the curb on the left for reference, dab of brakes, get the nose in, over the inside curb, straight back on the power. This is flat now through Farm Curve. Into Village, use the curb as reference, down to 2nd. Try and get that curb there, just missed it. Down to 1st for the loop. Now throttle's really important here, we're bang on the throttle, we want no wheel spin, we want ultimate traction. Down the straight, down the Wellington straight. Again, bit of time to relax, use the bridge as reference, see how your lap's going. Braking reference is this sign here, down to 3rd, down to 2nd, get the nose in. Important you get this curb on the left here to get the nose in. Up to 3rd, back down to 2nd for Luffield. Wait, bang, straight on the power. Dancing with the rear, through Woodcut, flat out, and that is a lap of Silverstone Grand Prix.
Look at that. We got the cars on the grid. They're about to start their formation lap for the first race in the SRO Esports GT Series, this new 2020 championship. We've got 2 races coming up for you today, 2 one-hour races. The second coming up after this one is for the silver class, which is for invited sim racers. But first of all, we've got the real-world racing drivers. Fabrizio Crestani on pole position. Charles Leclerc is in the grid. Jenson Button is in the grid, as well as a whole host of drivers we're used to seeing in the SRO GT World Challenge. So, in the commentary box, we have got Ben Constanduros, 5-time Grand Prix winner John Watson, and of course, the voice of GT Racing, David Addison.
And so we look forward then to the first race, the cars making their way off the grid down towards Copse Corner. It is the heritage pits, if you like, in use, the old pits down near Copse Corner and coming out of Woodcut rather than over at the wing, which is the traditional base, of course, this section of Silverstone for SRO and its GT categories. The cars making their way up towards the Beckett's S's then on this final formation lap for the rolling start. Fabrizio Crestani then in the SRO Motorsports McLaren on pole position, Ben Barnicoat's McLaren to line up alongside, and then Louis Delatraz, the House Formula 1 tester, for the second row, and another Porsche driver, Mattia Cairoli, to line up alongside. 49 drivers in total have got themselves through pre-qualifying into the race, and just, John Watson, look at this huge field of cars pouring up through the Beckett's S's. This is going to be something to enjoy. Well, now the cars will be getting themselves into the Noah's Ark 2x2 formation, ready for the start. We lost a Porsche somewhere. Have we lost Mattia Cairoli? Because he should be on the second row of the grid, and I've, to the eye, lost him. So this is where Ben goes and checks servers for us, but I think we've lost, have we not, Cairoli from the second row. The race director, Peter Roberts, brought in for this championship. Peter, vastly experienced race official from UK events, and more recently he's been part of the IGTC and SRO's man in America. But Peter, who is doing all this from Sandbach, I think about half an hour south of me, is in charge and looking at driving standards and the format of the race and making sure that everybody behaves. So, are we a Porsche down? It looks like it, Ben, doesn't it, from the second row of the grid?
Yeah, I can't seem to click on him, and his time on the server is no longer running. So I'll go into the race drivers chat that they have on Discord and find out exactly what's happened. They tend to come in and check in with the race direction there if they do have an issue.
Okay, I'll leave you to that. Thanks, Ben, because we're about to go racing then as the cars, having gone in front of the BRDC's virtual clubhouse, they come through Luffield and now through Woodcut Corner, speed building, ready for the start of our first round of the SRO Esport GT Series. Here from Silverstone then on the front of the grid, Fabrizio Crestani and Ben Barnicoat. McLaren's both the deeper blue colours carried by Crestani. Ben Barnicoat almost up level to him then in third slot on the grid. Louis Delatraz in the Porsche. If the officials are happy, we'll get the race underway now then, as everybody should storm their way down towards Copse Corner for the first time. But that to me looks like they're staying in grid order still, so it's not a quickened pace as yet. And now the speed does kick in as they approach the first corner, and round the outside goes Ben Barnicoat, so he takes over the race lead. There's already drama, I think, for Michael O'Brien being shown as having a drive-through, and Louis Delatraz has lost a spot to the leading Bentley there, I think, as they head up towards the Beckett's S's for the first time. So a good start by Jordan Pepper, and now the question is, does everybody get through safely? In midfield, I fear, there was a car on the grass there going through Beckett's. They come onto the hanger straight for the first time, and it is going to be McLaren's first and second then as the cars sprint down towards Stowe. John Watson, so far, so good. They are just about keeping out of strife, although there is one on the grass in the background.
Yeah, Ben Barnicoat got the advantage into Copse. Louis Delatraz looked like he was going to slip up the inside, but got slightly outmaneuvered. Charles Leclerc, brave man as he is, goes a long way around, and as he made that pass, he has. So already the young Ferrari Charger is charging in his Ferrari.
Getting on with the job to good effect, but right now, Ben, it's 3 for the lead, isn't it? 2 McLarens, and then what looks like being Jordan Pepper's Bentley trying to go with them, with the leading Porsche of Delatraz just dropping back a little.
Absolutely, and you mentioned Michael O'Brien with a DT beside his name. That means drive-through penalty. A very interesting system to get these cars underway. They all have to stay, as we see a bit of a pass there and a little bit of ghosting as they go into each other. They have to stay within a box, and if they go too far back or too far forward within that box before the green light, then they can pick up an instant drive-through penalty. And I think Michael O'Brien, having got a drive-through penalty before even we went to green, may have fallen foul of that.
Okay, that was Raffaele Marciello versus Luigi De Lorenzi. De Lorenzi in the yellow Aston has a look down the inside line coming into Brooklands, but to no avail. Raffaele, who has positioned himself as the Mercedes driver in recent years, hanging on to position then as they come up towards the end of lap 1. It was Ferrari that won here last year in a 3-hour endurance race. So at the end of lap 1, across the timing line, they will come. And is it going to be still up front then the McLaren of Ben Barnicoat? Yes, it is. Crestani runs second. Third is Jordan Pepper. Fourth then is Delatraz. Fifth behind him is Marciello. And sixth is De Lorenzi. Michael O'Brien seventh, yet to serve his drive-through. Ben Tusting is doing a good job, eighth. Alex Buncombe is ninth. And then in 10th place, you've got the Audi, number 5 of Ivan Pereiras, as the cars now head up through the Beckett's S's for the second time. But everywhere you look at the moment, John, there's a battle going on other than those 3 leaders getting away, whisper it, getting away from a Porsche. So Jensen going forwards, and it's Alex's brother Chris, with whom Jensen is big mates, but the families know each other well. So here they come. Jensen Button getting himself up the order. 11th he is now, accelerating down towards us. Still Ben Barnicoat, the race leader, but only by 0.3 of a second. And we've had, 10 minutes of the race then. This for the pro drivers as they come down through Brooklands. David Perel still under attack. Look, right there with him is Scott Malvern. And that Bentley, Ben, is going great guns, isn't it?
Absolutely. Great to see that the British Mark has had success at Silverstone before. Got a little bit sideways, bit of contact. More contact. Oh, dear.
Off goes Malvern. He got a bit of help from the Aston. I think it was Ricky Collard who got into the back of him. Collard now gets elbowed aside by the Ferrari there, coming over the timing line. So as they go through, that is Yefanov going by up into 18th place in the Ferrari. But the one that's come off worse, having just said how well he was going, Scott Malvern, that was all a bit messy, wasn't it, at Lafayette?
Yeah, it was just too many cars into a limited amount of racetrack. But just watching the 2 Aston Martins going, again, Ricky Collard running very wide out of Copse. So those inter-team battles are as intense as in the field. And at the minute, we're seeing on lapping, timing and scoring that Jordan Pepper is in the lead of this race. What has happened to the 2 McLarens?
So who is that dropping down the order? Ben Tusting, I think that was. So Ben Tusting, having gone well early on in the race, going off the circuit and falling down. You see he's now, 14th on that leaderboard. Alex Buncombe has dropped a long way back as well. News comes that the 2 McLarens, the Barnicoat Crestani cars we were asking questions about earlier, they did get themselves together. We don't have a replay of it, but that seems to be the story. There was contact between the pair, but they have survived it, so there'll be a certain amount of grumpiness between the 2. So those McLarens that were really strong at the start of the race, now playing catch-up.
Raffaele, look, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Way out wide, loses a place. That is going to be De Lorenzi up into 3rd place. Barnicoat, McLaren, the best of them, is 6th. He's still fighting. He's not given up yet. But, John, yes, explain. What was Raffaele doing? That wasn't like him.
Well, we know he's a great driver to watch. He's a fantastic race driver. That was just a little bit over aggressive on the turning into Copse. The back end stepped out, and of course he had to make the correction, and the car will automatically run that much, maybe another 10, 12 feet too wide on the exit of Copse, which caused him to lose the position. Just watching this group of cars, 5 or 6 of them coming through into Beckett, the one of them that I'm impressed with most of all is in fact Grand Prix star and former world, but he is driving this race in his McLaren wheel perfectly. Every time he places the car at an apex, perfect. Every time he exits a corner, perfect. He is not doing, as Ben might be suggesting, getting carried away with the fact that you're in a sim race. He's driving this race as it is a real race, a live race. And he's about
drive-through penalty for Louis Delatraz as well.
And the Bentley's almost, just gotten past coming down into Vale, but can he recover enough, or can Jensen make the cut back? He's going to try and make the cut back, but he's probably lost the momentum as they come into the second part of Club Corner, and the Bentley has taken that position away to Jensen down to 10th and Rouget up into 9th.
And Crestani is being given a drive through as well for contact with Ben Barnicoat. So that also starts to explain why they dropped down the order, doesn't it? So the 2 McLarens made contact, and Crestani is getting a penalty. Delatraz made contact with Crestani, and more drama there. Another rotating Porsche we see, which I think was Simone Iaquinta in the Ginzani Arco Motorsport car coming out of the loop. So The 911 goes around, but now we're starting to piece it together. So Delatraz second has a penalty, and the one that's creeping up the order nicely here is the Aston Martin of Luigi De Lorenzi. There it is. That's about to inherit second spot. Buncombe goes through on the inside, heading into Stoke Corner, so that puts him up into 11th place. The next target is Simone Iaquinta's Porsche that had a spin earlier on in the race. So Alex Buncombe charging on to get himself further up the order, try to shadow what Jordan Pepper is doing in the lead of the race here. Marciello third, still not really being able to make the progress against De Lorenzi, is he, Ben?
No, absolutely not.
Ferrari, look.
Yeah, and Rougier and Button were in strife as well, coming out of Club. Rougier's all at sea there, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, not Club, that's to Abbey.
It's Abbey. There's Jensen again in 7th place. Seb Morris now managed to get past Pereira's up into 5th place. Button dropped, showing now back in 8th place behind David Perel. And the Ferraris, are lots of action has gone on when we're watching one bit of the circuit. Lots of things going on elsewhere.
Yeah, David Perel, I think, got involved with Jenson Button because the officials are having a look at that to see if anybody were at fault. Now, Ben, sorry, you were halfway through a very important point. We got excited about spinnies.
No, it's okay. Usually in a 1 hour race, we'd see in the sprint series of the World Challenge a pit stop. But to keep everything exciting in terms of managing fuel and tyres, we don't have pit stops in this race. So a lot of people on the chat asking about pit stops. No pit stops here, but very, very good battles.
Indeed. So for 8th there, Iaquinta loses out. Alex Buncombe goes through on the inside line. So Alex Buncombe gains a place, runs a little bit wide. Iaquinta comes back at him. Bentley versus Porsche, they almost rub. And now accelerate up through the Beckett's S's. So the Porsche loses out. The Bentley gets up into 8th place. And David Perel, as I say, did get involved with Jenson Button. So it might be that something comes of that in terms of a penalty. We'll keep you posted.
Good overtake by Alex Buncombe coming up into Beckett's, and again a professional driver driving, as Ben was explaining and I pointed out with Jenson Button. Just avoid contact, drive it as you would drive it if it was a real race. Just stay away from trouble.
Now Jenson is dropping down the order. Is he in the pits, Ben? I think he's been given a drive through, hasn't he, for contact on lap 15. So Jenson is in trouble. The good drive looks like it's come to an end. So the gap widens, doesn't it? The Porsche just getting away a little, as here you've got Luigi De Lorenzi getting himself through the traffic. Now ignore the car immediately behind. You need to be looking for the Mercedes. Raffaele Marciello in 3rd place. In the meantime here, Ivan Pereiras is keeping David Perel at bay. David is doing a very good job. We know he's good on a sim, but David Perel dives to the inside line. This is for 6th place, and he's done it at the end of Vale. Assuming he doesn't run wide into Club Corner, he'll be able to come out the other side with a place gained, and that, Ben, was a good move.
Perel's got huge experience and was a bit of a consultant when it came to Assetto Corsa Competizione. He's really knows this game inside out. So it's great to see that that performance is now coming to fruition. Of course, anybody running a Ferrari has the benefit of those very experienced Ferrari drivers that we'll see in the silver race coming up. Experienced sim drivers setting up those Ferraris to allow these drivers, these pro drivers, to get the best out of them. So one of the reasons why Charles Leclerc was attracted to coming and joining this race was because they had so much support from the Ferrari eSports Academy that run Enzo Benito and Luca Tonzia. Luca at the moment is leading the F1 eSports series, won it last year.
Indeed so. And there you've just seen the Lorenzo Marcucci Audi squeeze through. So just under 11 minutes of the race to go. Marciello turns now through the fast sweeping Abbey, and Ben Barnicoat is getting closer to him. So if anything, it's going to be battle on for 3rd rather than 2nd, isn't it? Marciello has fallen too far back to attack.
Correct.
Ben Barnicoat for the podium. Could be on here, John.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ben Barnicoat got the momentum. The gap now, just as it came across the line at the end of the last lap, has halved to just over 0.3 of a second. So Ben Barnicoat is the man. You see him there on the charge. Comes up, gets alongside, down into Brooklands. Well, he's done it. And Raffaele Marciello had no answer. Nothing he could do. Barnicoat has got the pace. He's got the grip. Now Marciello tried to come back a little bit in the middle of Luffield. Not a good place to do it. Make contact. That would be a bigger penalty than it's just the time he has lost. But he's lost position out of the top 3 into 4th place.
So Ben, prediction. De Lorenzo for second, or is Ben Barnicoat going to get the job done?
Ben Barnicoat's so close now. Look on the screen. Down the hanger straight, he was getting closer and closer. Couldn't do it into Stowe, but later on the brakes into Vale, and that almost looked easy from Ben Barnicoat. The McLaren working incredibly well at the end of this race. Lorenzi losing a second on this lap. He lost a second on the last lap as well. I think he has done his tyres.
Yeah, that was a well-executed move by Ben Barnicoat. He knew where he had the advantage. He waited until he got that advantage, made it stick, got up into second place, but he's got a massive 7.5 seconds disadvantage or deficit between now that second place and race leader, and totally, virtually, if not totally unchallenged from the minute this race got underway. Jordan Pepper, 7.5 or 7.6 seconds of an advantage over second place Ben Barnicoat.
Yeah, unless Jordan makes a mistake, it's hard to see Ben getting much closer to him. But we know that Ben is a real style driver in GT3 or GT4 McLarens. We've seen that a lot over the last few years. A great fan of Formula One, except Formula One stock cars. And he's tried his hand at that and won races in it in the past. So another versatile driver is Ben Barnicoat. Wide out of left field, up towards the completion of the lap. Let's just see what the gap is going to be now that he's up into second place, and whether there's a chance of bringing that gap down significantly in 6 minutes, 7 seconds. No, too tall an order, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a big ask for Ben Barnicoat to take a 7-second deficit in, 5 minutes. I mean, anything is possible. The thing that may also come into play, we haven't seen very much of Jordan Pepper having to deal with traffic because he hasn't had any around him. But if he does get into some of the back markers and they aren't aware of a quicker car, the race leader coming through, that can be enough in itself to give Jordan Pepper the problem that he doesn't really need with just 5.5 minutes remaining.
Some of the drivers that were in strife, either through a spin or a penalty early on in the race, have been able to fight back in many terms. 2 minutes and counting. Much Yellow goes over the line, so he's off the notional podium, and he's running fourth as they dive into Copse Corner once more. But the Mercedes is all over the back of the Aston Martin. We're going to be able to squeeze one more lap out of it at the end of this, I would offer you.
I would have thought that Raffaele Marcello has got everything fine-tuned as best you could possibly do in a Mercedes AMG GT3 to find a way past the Aston Martin. We saw Ben Barnicoat did it. Well thought out and executed pass on the Aston a couple of laps ago. Marcello maybe has seen some inspiration, and maybe he's got a little bit of life left yet in those tyres on his Mercedes to make a move. Not into Stowe, not close enough. Think about it, down into Vale. He's holding a tighter line, got a better exit speed. Now he's going to make a move. Goes to the right, but has to think about it. Goes maybe down to the left, dives down. It's the back of the Aston Martin. Can he make it stick? Well, will that be penalised, or will that be a racing incident? But runs very wide on the exit, and all of a sudden it's getting very messy with these cars battling for second and third place.
Absolutely. So Raffaele Marciello goes through up into third, but will it stand? Question mark, as John posed the question. There was contact, you saw it, so it'll be looked at by the officials. But either way, for the moment at least, Marciello is ahead. Romain Monti there in the Bentley, which is not featuring in the timing, but it's still in the race, driving at the same pace. So either he lost a lap early on, or there's something quirky about him in the timing, because the car we've seen in the race, but it's never really featured in the classification. He's now got himself up past Di Lorenzo as well. But Raffaele Marciello trying to pull clear as they accelerate down once more towards Brooklands. 20 seconds are on the clock. Jordan Pepper should be able to squeeze by. Marciello is indeed being looked at by race control for that bit of contact we've just seen, so it was brutal. The officials are going to have a look as we get into the last 8 seconds of the race. The leader has gone by, so Jordan Pepper has got one more lap to go up towards the Beckett's S's, and this, guys, has been a very impressive drive by Jordan, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, a supreme drive by the South African, has not put a wheel wrong, and he got himself into position in the lead and just has driven away from the field, and he's been able to control his pace by running at the pace of this nearest challenger, whoever it's been. Right now it's Ben Barnicoat. Gap is between those first and second cars. Well, it was around 6.1 seconds, waiting to see what it will be when they come across the line at the end of lap 31.
Well, for Jordan Pepper, yep, the gap 6.6 in the sectors. He's going to be home and dry. He's going to take the win, that's for sure. But as they come now down through the end of Vale into Club Corner. It's going to be a British brand to win on a British circuit. Here up towards the exit of Club, towards Abbey, comes Jordan Pepper. Ben Barnicoat is still charging up into third, much yellow, but it's not guaranteed that Raffaele is going to hang on to that place. You can see more penalties being offered up on the information line on the screen. You've got Simone Agquinta now with a drive-through, number 38 Porsche for contact. But Ben Constanduras, Jordan Pepper deserves all the plaudits for this. It's been a really impressive drive.
Yeah, we didn't really see how he got to that position, but once he did, he ran the best pace he possibly could and really flown the flag for Bentley around Silverstone circuit. Fantastic to see, of course. By taking this victory, he will take some success ballast and BOP into the next rounds, which will slow down his Bentley, but still further back. Romain Monti's running at the pace of these leaders, and the problem is he's faster than Marcello right now, but he is in 27th and a lap down, so he's getting himself really in the way here.
That's right, so it's going to be a win then for Jordan Pepper, who comes across the line then at the end of 31 laps of racing to take the win here at Silverstone in the first round of the SRO eSport GT Championship. And for second place, Ben Barnicoat goes across the line. Third on the road is going to be Raffaele Marciello, but watch this space. Fourth will be Luigi Di Lorenzo, David Perel fifth, and Seb Morris, good drive by Seb, to be in sixth place as the cars come pouring over the line. So, a great first race here at Silverstone. Jordan Pepper victorious, and of course we've got another race to come, which is for the Sim Racing Stars, the Silver Championship. That is coming up as we can reflect on a great hour for the pros.
Right, we are about to go racing again then for the second time this afternoon. It's going to be the silver class, and this is for the top sim racers in the world that have been invited to the competition. You at home can enter the AM class. If you head to SROesports.com, you will find out how to enter that and what the stipulations are with that series, because that's all about just getting hot laps in at home if you want to get involved and get on track. But we're focusing on the pro drivers, which has been won by Jordan Pepper. He's now at the top of the championship, and now we are moving to the silver class, which is for these professional invited sim racers. Niels Noyux is on pole position, the Dutchman, with Yuya Petrochenko alongside him on the front row of the grid, the Russian. Patrick Selva and Arthur Kamara are in third and fourth, and David Tonitsa completes the top five. Another 1 hour race coming up. So once again, it's over to the commentators. Ben Constanduras, 5 times Formula 1 Grand Prix winner, also winner of the 1981 British Grand Prix and the 1976 Austrian Grand Prix and the 1983 USA West Grand Prix. Those are the only 3 I can remember off the top of my head. John Watson, and also lead commentator David Addison.
Jack, thank you very much indeed. It is time to go racing just about. We are, 10 seconds or so away from releasing the stars of the sim world. Down they come into Brooklands then. Number 26 is the all-red McLaren of Yura Petrichenko on the outside of the front row. Patrick Selva and Arthur Kamara lining up on the second row of the grid. What about the Ferrari? We saw in the 3-hour endurance race here, real-world race here last year, Ferrari come out on top. So can David Tonitsa for the FDA Hublot Esports team triumph in this, and Amir Husseini in the Mercedes, the type of car that we have had in the top 3 in the pro race? Up through Woodcote Corner they come. If the officials are happy, then the cars can be released into 60 minutes of racing, around 31 laps, all being well, as the cars now come through the right of Woodcote Corner. Niels Noyok slightly in advance of the rest of them. You've got to be careful here not to anticipate the starts as the field then now gets set ready to be released down towards Copse Corner. And as they get towards the timing line, then the field will be released now, and down towards Copse they go, with Noyok just having the advantage. He turns into Copse Corner just ahead, powers his way out the other side. So Niels Noyok it is that takes pole, converts that into the lead of the race. Second is Yura Petrichenko as they head up towards the Beckett's S's for the first time. Patrick Selva runs next in the queue. Arthur Kamara trying to make some good progress as well. Up into fifth already is the Mercedes of Hosseini. Now we need to make sure everybody gets through Beckett safely for the first time. I was going to say so far so good, but Husseini, John, is the one off the road.
No, David, they didn't. There was contact coming into Maggot. The car was tagged sideways. We didn't just call the back of the incident. I don't know whether that will be reviewed or not, but certainly at the front of the field, we got those 4 McLarens just blocking out the entire racetrack. And before you get anywhere, it's the first of the Mercedes in 5th place, Pisani, and you can see the Mercedes diving down the inside. Well, a courageous move on the opening lap. Can he make it stick? He's on the wrong part of club corner. Runs wide at the middle part and then has to find a way, but he's going to squeeze. He's done it. He managed to get the momentum and took that 4th place away.
That was a good pass, wasn't it? So round the outside goes Ami Hosseini ahead of the Monza charity race winner, Arthur Camara, who's defected, as we've been saying, to McLaren from Mercedes here. So heading up towards Village, then on the opening lap, you've got the Rover Racing liveried Porsche in the mix, as well as the cars turn now up through the loop, ready to accelerate down towards Brooklands for the first time. But Ben, a good opening lap by Nils Neujoks, trying to build up the advantage over the rest.
And nice and clean, as you expect. There was a bit of chaos, as John said, further back. It was Parker that got put sideways even before he got to Maggots and collected Brioni and Honzik. So 3 big names. They are still running, but will be running with damage on that opening lap. I was questioning whether we were ghosting on the first lap, because that's what we saw from the pro race, but I don't think that these silver drivers were given ghosting on the first lap, so they really had to be careful not to make contact, which is nice to see. Ghosting is where everybody becomes a ghost around you, so if you do make contact on the first lap, it does not influence the other driver.
I don't remember the first pro lap being all that ghosted. I seem to remember there were some fairly frantic moments in all of that. However, you're right, this has been a proper gloves-off opening lap. And here, Neujoks, ahead of Petrichenko, is not yet getting away. He leads, but he's not escaping up the road. So he comes through the Beckett's S's, bit of correction needed there. Through Chapel Curve now, onto the Hanger Straight. But Petrichenko, John, in second place, looking as though he's lining up for a move. So Petrichenko second, gets the drive-through message. So does Luca Lossio, who is down in 18th place, and also from causing dramas on the first lap, Kieran Prendergast is being given a drive-through for, quote, causing a mass collision, end quote. So Prendergast will be penalised, as well as now battle is on, look, between number 20 Moritz Lerner and 23 Eamon Murphy in the Porsche. Coming up towards Woodcote Corner, 47 minutes and change still on the clock. And do we have people this time serving those drive-through penalties? Hopefully we do, because otherwise you start to incur the wrath of officialdom yet further.
Moritz Lerner is one of those drivers we see compete on multiple platforms. He's really, really good at jumping from different sims. Perhaps not, again, a master of Assetto Competizione, someone like Enzo Benito is. Side by side through Maggots and Beckett's, that's very, very brave, and they've just about managed to do it in a way that Al Khalifa in the pro race did not at all. But we're seeing more drive-throughs being cleared, and still side by side onto the main straight.
And up between the two cars, right under the rear wing, trying to make it a 3 wide coming down into Stowe. Who's going to come out in front? Well, it's the Lamborghini, in fact. So no change, but can't get any closer. Bentley looking to go down the inside into Vale, then cuts back to the outside. Again, no advantage. It's the Lamborghini running directly behind the Bentley that just has to sit there and wait, because his opportunity will come.
So Camara frustrated again. He has a look to the inside line going down towards Abbey. Look at fourth, where it's still Tonitza from Neujoks from Garcia. The Mercedes with a length and a half, maybe 2 lengths breathing space up towards the right of Village now. Again, Arthur Camara breaks late. Is he going to be able to find a gap on the inside up at the loop? He thinks about it. He chances his arm. Is he going to make contact with him? Finally, is the door being pushed open? And yes, Arthur Camara on this, lap 18, has finally done it. Through he goes. 24 and a half minutes are on the clock. And finally, he's up into second place. Now going after Patrick Selva. But Hosseini in the Mercedes is not done yet. He goes round the outside coming into Brooklands. Oh, no, you don't, says Camara. The Monza charity race winner is second at long last. He doesn't just want to stay there. He wants to go after the leader if he can. So now Hosseini is going to be under attack from David Tonitza in the Ferrari as they come across the line. John, Camara worked hard for that.
He did. He worked hard for it. He deserves it. He caught Hosseini unexpectedly going into the loop. Difficult place to make a pass. There's not a lot of room around you. But he got alongside. More importantly, he was on the inside of the Mercedes. And when they came to Aintree, was that quick left-hand curve onto Wellington Straight. He was in the driving seat and he had taken that position away, and he ought to now be able to pull away comfortably and quickly from what is now the third place Mercedes.
So here they come, and Tonitza versus Garcia. Battle is still between the two of them. Up they come out of the loop. And
is that a spin coming out of the loop?
Yes, it is. Yeah, Hosseini's gone.
Okay, the Mercedes rotates then. So was that a tap, or has he cracked under the pressure, Ben? What do you think?
I wasn't watching, but I was watching Nils Neujoks, and Neujoks wasn't close enough to make contact with him. So I think Husseini's just lost the rear end there, dropped 7.5 seconds. He's now in 7th position, but way behind Benito. No chance then for him to really recover, I don't think now. And Neujoks gets an easy 3rd.
So Alberto Garcia then almost into the back of the Ferrari. Again, riding on board. How realistic does that look? Fantastic. Through club, double apex ride. It opens up now onto the straight. Past the Formula One pits on the right-hand side. Up now towards the right-hand flick of Abbey. The Bentley just a little bit too far back. Bite of curb on the inside. Running up to the curb on the outside. Now left through farm. Heading up towards village. There, the Bentley looks the quicker, but he can't get there in time in order to challenge at village. What about the loop? Is there a gap on the inside? Not really.
No, there's no gap. I mean, it was certainly being covered by Tanica, but he wasn't far enough. Now, coming back, is this Hosseini, this back marker, no doubt?
This is for 6th, isn't it? It's Hosseini trying to get past Enzo Benito for 6th place, and he's done it.
And he's got past.
Yeah. So Hosseini, Ben, trying to make amends here. Got himself back in the top 6. That was brave stuff.
Great move from Husseini, and showing that he can attack, because we haven't really seen him do much of attacking. It's always been defence, and now actually a nice clean move, and Benito kind of having to just let him go. Benito looks like he's really, really struggling, which is a big surprise, because those Ferraris seemed really good in the pro race at the end of the race, and looks like he's going to lose another one.
Well, just quickly, on the last lap of this race, which of us would choose our driver of this race?
Oh, it's a good question. Patrick Selva has done nothing wrong, but I'm still very impressed as a driver by Arthur Camara. Ben?
Benji.
Yeah, I'd love to see more from Nils Neujoks. I think he's really, really not had the opportunity to flourish yet, and perhaps in this race he hasn't found himself in too many problems, but I'm looking forward to Neujoks actually getting on the top step at some point.
And John, your driver of the day? Or driver of the race?
Purely because he's given us an excellent masterclass on how to defend, you have to say Hosseini, albeit that he got overtaken in the loop, and that was a great pass by Camara in the McLaren. Nevertheless, he got spun around, he's come back, he's overtaken, so I'm going to go with Hosseini.
Okay, well, Patrick Selva is going to be the man that takes the points. He's going to be the man that puts the ballast into the McLaren for the next round of the championship. Now, bear in mind, if you finish on the podium, you take the combined weight across every car in the brand. So that means that a 1, 2, 3 for McLaren means these cars are going to take 25 kilos for a win, 17 for second, and a further 10 for third into the next round at Spa. They're going to be very heavy cars there, but at Silverstone, it is a win for McLaren. Patrick Selva wins the opening round of the SRO ESPORT GT Series Championship 2020. A great drive by Patrick Selva. Arthur Camara is going to come through now to take 2nd place. The gap at the end, 9 seconds. Makes you wonder what he could have done had he got through sooner. 3rd, another McLaren. Nils Neujoks it is that comes home for 3rd place. Now, what about 4th? David Tonitza or Alberto Garcia? It is Ferrari ahead of Bentley. And 6th will go to Mercedes. Amir Hosseini fending off the challenge of Enzo Benito. Then Simonini in 8th, Cecilia 9th. And it is in 10th place in number 9, Philippe Simard. So Patrick Selva, the race winner. Arthur Camara taking 2nd place. Nils Neujoks for 3rd ahead of Tonitza, Garcia, Hosseini, Bonito, Simonini, Cecilia and Simard at the end of our first SRO ESPORT GT Series Silver Series race, won here at Silverstone by a very impressive Patrick Selva.
Well, what a great race in the silver class. Hugely impressive drive from Patrick Selva, although to a degree it was handed to him on a plate, wasn't it? After that drama in the early stages, that Neujoks and Petrochenko collision, dropping Neujoks down the order. He then climbed back up the order into 3rd place. We believe the stewards are looking at that. So once again, Nils Neujoks under a little bit of investigation. But a really entertaining race, that one. It was a proper race out at the front, and I have to agree with the guys in commentary there that Hosseini's defensive drive for the first 18 laps was really quite something. There was that train of 7 or 8 cars behind. A reminder, if you're just joining us, that Jordan Pepper won the pro race earlier on. He's at the top of the pro standings, and it is Patrick Selva who has won the silver class. The pro standings and the pro class is for the real world racing drivers. The silver class is for the top line sim drivers that we've invited here to compete in the SRO Esports GT series. And this championship, its next race is going to be in 2 weeks' time. So the 10th of May at Spa-Francorchamps. And as David was saying, McLaren are going to be a lot heavier after their performance here because of the weight penalties. You can read all of the regulations, by the way, on the SRO Esports website. We've got some drivers coming in for a chat. I suppose we will start with Arthur Camara. Arthur, thank you very much for coming in to join us. How did you enjoy that race? A very strong second place, but it wasn't even easy to get past Hosseini.
Yes, indeed. I enjoyed it a lot because I can say from my side, I drove very clean today. Although I was not happy with qualifying, I think I got the maximum out of it, even though I would have thought it wouldn't be Patrick in P1, but congratulations to him. Yes, I'm super happy with P2, very excited with the fight with Amir, and I'm glad that I was able to overtake him clean and just get P2 this way.
Cool. Well, congratulations, Arthur. Thank you very much for joining us. A second place finish there for Arthur Camara. Now let's move on to Niels Noyox, who, well, Niels, I mean, talk us through your race. Firstly, did you have a hit with Petrochenko that dropped you the places? We didn't see it ourselves. And then your move for third place at the end was robust as well.
So first of all, I don't know what happened there early on in the race. I think he just outbraked himself quite a bit. I think it was at least 5-10 meters late or so. So he hit me. It was a bit unfortunate. I didn't take too much damage, I believe. And then had a couple scraps with a few guys. Great fight with David, especially. He was very, very fair. We left each other space. I think that took a fair end. And then again with Amir, it wasn't so fortunate. I'm not sure if it was lag again or if he was braking right at the apex, but I totally didn't expect him to slow down that much, and that's why I tapped him at the back again.
Cool. Thank you very much, Niels, for joining us. And you mentioned there a nice clean fight with David Tonitza. David is on the line now. How was that for you, David?
Yeah, it was a great race. The quali was pretty good. I started in P4. And then, fortunately, I had a great pace in the first part. So I stayed within the McLaren, the Mercedes guys, and then at the end I struggled a bit. I had a great fight with Niels, but yeah, all in all, it was a great race. So GG, it was a really good show, I think.
So thank you very much for joining us in the first race of the SRO Esports GT Series, this new 2020 championship that has got underway today at Silverstone. If you missed any of the action, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you can go back to the start and re-watch it. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, the 10th of May at Spa, for the second round of the SRO Esports GT Series. The pro class today won by Jordan Pepper, Ben Barnicoat finishing in second, Luigi Di Lorenzo in third, and that's how the championship stands for the professional real-world racing drivers from the GT World Challenge powered by AWS that'll be getting underway later this year. And in the silver grid, Patrick Selva, the winner, Arthur Camara in second, and David Tonitza promoted up into a podium spot after a penalty for Niels Noyox. Those are the three in the top of the silver class and as a result, the silver championship. Huge thanks to David Addison, to Ben Constanduros, and of course John Watson for joining us and providing the commentary. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time, the 10th of May in Spa for the next round. There's a new SRO GT podcast coming up soon that David has just announced, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that across all of social media. SRO Esports if you want to know more about this SRO Esports GT series. But from now, for us, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time on the 10th of May at Spa for more intense online GT racing action.